This episode is for a specific person. You know who you are. You work all the day for someone else. You come home exhausted. You have responsibilities that do not pause. Bills, family, obligations, survival. Things that do not care how tired you are or how much you want something different. And somewhere inside all of that, quietly, persistently, you're trying to build something of your own. A business, a channel, a skill, a second income, a different life. Something that is genuinely yours. But there is never enough time, never enough money, never enough support from the people around you. And so it keeps not happening. Week after week, month after month, this episode is for that person. Because the problem is not what you think it is. This is a story most people tell themselves. I will start when I have more time. I will start when I have more money. I will start when things settle down. I will start when the kids are older. I will start when I feel more ready. This story sounds reasonable. It is not. It is the most expensive story you will ever tell yourself. Because the conditions never arrive. Not because life is cruel, but because life is life. There will always be another obligation, another expense, another reason, another version of not it. The person waiting for perfect conditions is not being careful. They are being comfortable. Waiting feels like preparation. It is not. Waiting is the avoidance of discomfort, of being without certainty. And the longer you wait, the more evidence you accumulate that now is not the right time. Until now never comes. I want to tell you something important. Nobody who built something real built it under perfect conditions. Not one person. Every business that exists, every channel, every book, every moment was built in the margins of an imperfect life. By someone who was also tired, also short of money, also without enough support. The conditions were not perfect. They started anyway. If you cannot build in the center of your life, build in the margins. The margins are the edges, the small spaces between obligations. The 30 minutes before the house wakes up. The lunch hour nobody else is claiming. The 40 minutes on the commute that currently belong to scrolling. The hour after the children sleep before you collapse. These are not nothing. They are everything. Because building is not about the length of the session. It is about the consistency of the session. One focused hour every day is worth more than 10 scattered hours once a month. The margin method is simple. Find the margin in your day, the same margin every day. Perfect it like it is a meeting you cannot cancel. And in that margin, do only one thing. The one thing that moves your build forward. No emails, no planning, no research, no thinking about doing it. Doing it. Even badly, even slowly, even when what you produce does not feel like enough. Because the margin, protected consistently, compounds. What you build in 30 minutes today become the foundation for tomorrow's 30 minutes. And in a year, you have built something real in the margin of a life that never gave you permission to build. Let me be specific, because vague inspiration fades, specific numbers stay. One focused hour per day, 365 days. That is 365 hours of building per year. Now let me put that in context. A full-time employee works roughly 2,000 hours per year. 365 hours is almost 1/5 of that. 1/5 of a full working year added to your life. Without quitting your job, without abandoning your family, without superhuman discipline. Just 1 hour. Protected, consistent, used. In 1 year of 1 honest hour per day, a writer produces a book. A developer builds a product. A creator builds an audience. A student masters a new skill. A builder lays a foundation that did not exist 12 months ago. You are not behind because you lack time. You are behind because the time you have is not being protected. 1 hour changes that. There is one final thing that makes the difference between someone who builds under pressure and someone who keeps planning to. It is this: stop waiting for motivation. Start building identity. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes. On the days when it is there, everything feels possible. On the days when it is not, nothing gets done. Building based on motivation means your progress is inconsistent as your feelings. Identity is different. Identity is what you decide you are, regardless of how you feel. The person who says, "I am someone who builds every day," does not ask themselves whether they feel like it. They build because that is who they are. Not because they are more disciplined, not because they have more time, not because their conditions are better, because they made a decision about who they are and they keep that decision even on the hard days. That shift from motivation to identity is what separates the people who build from the people who are always about to. You do not need more time. You need to decide who you are in the time you already have. If you're building in the margins, if you're doing this in a stolen hours, with limited money, without the support of everyone around you, I want you to know something. That is not a disadvantage. That is a training ground. The person who builds under pressure becomes someone who can build under any condition. The difficulty is not your obstacle, it is your edge. Keep going. Not when conditions improve, now. In the margins, with what you have, as who you are. I'm Zeno. This is Made from the Scratch, and I will see you in the next one.